There's a secret most men will never uncover, the one that separates a man who is admired from the one who is simply tolerated. You've probably seen it without realizing. That one man who walks into a room, no shouting, no chasing, no begging for attention, and yet every eye eventually finds him. Women, especially, treat him differently. They lean in when he speaks, even if his voice is calm. They respect him even when he says little. And here's the shocking part. He doesn't have to try. This is not luck. It's not about money, height, or jaw lines. What you're witnessing is an invisible pattern, a hidden code that very few men ever discover. Think of it like a game of chess. The average man plays checkers, moving pieces randomly, desperate to win fast. But the man of value, he plays chess slow, deliberate, precise. Each move is chosen, not out of panic, but out of patience. And when he finally declares checkmate, it's not with noise or ego, it's quiet, it's inevitable. Victory was written long before anyone else saw it coming. That is the difference between an ordinary man and a strong man. The ordinary man reacts, he bends. He shapes himself around what he thinks others want, especially women. His energy is scattered, needy, waiting to be validated. The strong man, he creates his own gravitational field. He doesn't ask for respect, he doesn't demand attention. His very posture communicates, I know who I am, with or without you. And women feel it. Most men, unfortunately, never get this. They waste years believing the lie that if they give more, do more, bend more, they'll finally be chosen. They'll finally earn respect. But here's the cruel paradox. The harder you try to prove your worth, the less worth you project. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you sacrifice your boundaries just to avoid conflict, every time you place her above your own values, you are silently teaching her one thing. My value is less than yours. And once that message lands, the respect begins to die, slowly, quietly, until one day you realize she doesn't admire you anymore, she tolerates you. Now, let me paint you a scene. Imagine two men in the same relationship. The first man checks his phone every 5 minutes, waiting for her reply. If she delays, panic rises. He double texts, he calls. He adjusts his plans, his goals, his evenings, all to fit into her schedule. At first, she smiles. Maybe she thinks it's sweet, but with time, it starts to suffocate. His entire identity is orbiting her like a desperate planet circling a star. The second man? He's different. He has a life, a mission, a pace of his own. His phone is not his leash. When she messages, he replies naturally, without anxiety. If she delays, he doesn't collapse into insecurity because his value is not measured in seen ticks or how quickly she answers. His world continues, with or without her. And paradoxically, that's the man she cannot stop thinking about. That's the man who lingers in her mind when the room is quiet. Why? Because what is scarce is valued. And when his presence is not always on demand, when his life is full with purpose, she feels something she doesn't feel with the man who's always waiting. Respect. This is not a childish game of pretending to be busy. Number. This is the natural byproduct of a man who actually has a life worth living. Strong character is not aggression. It's not arrogance. It's not cold indifference. It's the ability to remain centered when the world tries to knock you off balance. It's living with non-negotiable principles that guide you no matter who enters or leaves your life. A man of value doesn't crumble just to please. He doesn't abandon himself for approval. He knows that real attraction, real respect, is not chased. It's inspired. And here's the key. Listen closely. When you build yourself into a man who respects himself, the world has no choice but to reflect that respect back to you. The weak man spends his energy chasing. The strong man invests his energy becoming. One lives in constant reaction, the other lives in constant creation. So the question is, which one are you becoming? Are you the man who anxiously waits for permission to be respected? Or are you the man who walks at his own pace, knowing those who truly matter will adjust their steps to walk beside you? Because here's the truth. A man who is complete within himself will never have to beg. His silence will speak louder than another man's shouting. His calm will inspire more trust than another man's anger. And his refusal to bend will draw more admiration than a lifetime of desperate yeses. This is where true masculine strength begins, not in muscles, not in money, not in endless availability, but in the inner conviction that you are enough as you are, and you will not trade your dignity for temporary affection. That is the silent power that changes everything. Every relationship, whether we admit it or not, is a constant negotiation of boundaries. Not the kind drawn on paper, but invisible lines written in behavior, in choices, in the subtle ways you teach others how to treat you. The weak man avoids this truth. He believes that love means acceptance at all costs. He convinces himself that saying yes is safer than risking conflict. So, he tolerates lateness, he tolerates rudeness, he tolerates disinterest. He even tolerates outright disrespect, because somewhere inside, he fears that standing firm might push her away. But here is the hidden cost of that tolerance. Each time he swallows his truth, each time he bends to fit into her convenience, a piece of his value erodes. Slowly she begins to see him differently. She tests him again. She pushes a little further, and when she discovers there are no consequences, the respect she once held fades into thin air. Contrast this with the man of strong character. From the beginning, he makes his position clear, not through anger, not through threats, but with calm, steady certainty. He communicates, whether through words or through presence, that there are things he accepts and things he does not. He doesn't need to shout to enforce it. He doesn't need to lecture. His actions make it obvious. And here is the paradox. Clear boundaries do not push people away. They bring them closer. Because boundaries are not walls, they are signals of self-respect. When a woman encounters a man who knows exactly who he is and what he will not compromise, she feels safer. She feels that this is someone who can protect himself, someone who will not collapse under pressure. And if he can protect himself, he can also protect her. This does not mean he is rigid or inflexible. It means he is anchored. Like a tree rooted deep in the soil, he can bend with the wind without being uprooted. His yes means yes. His no means no. And both are respected because they come from a place of clarity. Now, imagine a moment of conflict. The weak man, terrified of losing her, tries to smooth everything over. He apologizes for things that aren't his fault. He nods when she pushes, thinking that silence equals peace. But the peace is false. Inside, resentment grows, and she feels it too, because deep down, no woman admires a man who is afraid of her displeasure. The strong man handles it differently. When conflict arises, he does not react in panic. He responds with intention. He listens. He speaks with calm authority. If something crosses his principles, he says so directly. If something is unacceptable, he refuses without guilt. This posture sends a silent but powerful message. I will not betray myself to please you. And strangely, that refusal does not drive her away. It pulls her in. Because she realizes this man cannot be manipulated by moods, by tears, or by pressure. He is not available for purchase with flattery or fear. And that kind of steadiness is magnetic. Think about this. The men who bend endlessly to avoid discomfort do not end up cherished, they end up resented. But the man who risks disapproval by standing firm, that is the man who ends up respected. The truth is simple, but not easy. If you want to be valued, you must first value yourself enough to risk being disliked. Because the man who fears losing her will always lose himself first. And once you lose yourself, no one can truly respect you. This is why the strongest relationships are not built on endless agreement. They are built on honest boundaries. A woman does not need a man who gives her everything she asks for. She needs a man who knows when to say no and means it. Respect is born not from perfection, but from consistency. Not from bending, but from standing. And once she sees that you are not afraid to lose her, something changes. Suddenly she realizes she is the one who must rise to meet you. That is the power of boundaries. They are not about control, they are about self-respect. And when you respect yourself deeply enough, you teach the world how to treat you. The man who tolerates everything ends up with nothing. The man who protects his dignity ends up with respect. And that respect is the foundation of every lasting connection. There is something more powerful than charm, more magnetic than appearance, and more lasting than temporary excitement. It is the presence of a man who is living his mission. When a man has purpose, it shows in everything he does. The way he wakes up, the way he walks into a room, the way he makes decisions. It radiates through him like quiet fire. You can feel it without him saying a single word. Now imagine two men again. The first one falls in love and instantly abandons himself. He cancels plans, he neglects his health, he slows down his ambition, all to prove how much he cares. In the beginning, she might smile at the attention. She might even feel flattered. But slowly, the admiration fades. Because deep down, no woman truly respects a man who loses himself in the process of loving her. What seemed romantic at first begins to feel like weakness. The second man does something different. When he meets her, his life does not stop. His goals remain. His passions remain. His mission continues. He welcomes her into his world, but he does not abandon that world for her. His life has direction, and she sees that she is not there to replace his purpose, but to walk alongside it. And paradoxically, this makes him far more attractive. His time has value because it is not limitless. His attention carries weight because it is not scattered everywhere. She realizes that being with him is not about filling his emptiness. It is about joining a journey that is already alive, already moving, already filled with meaning. This is what creates admiration. She looks at him and thinks, if he is this dedicated to his purpose, if he is this loyal to his mission, then maybe he is also strong enough to lead, to protect, to inspire. It is not about material success, though that may come. It is about psychological stability. A man who has a center, who knows where he is going, transmits security without trying. His presence says, I will not get lost in temporary emotions. I will not abandon my direction just to avoid loneliness. I know who I am, and I know where I am going. Women are drawn to this not because it makes them feel controlled, but because it makes them feel safe. Safe in knowing this man will not collapse the moment life gets hard. Safe in knowing that his love is not born of desperation, but of choice. The weak man makes a mistake that destroys attraction faster than anything else. He trades his mission for her attention. He gives up his gym sessions, his work, his studies, his dreams, all in exchange for more time together. At first, she accepts. She even thinks she wants it. But over time, she feels the weight of it. She feels that he is no longer standing on his own legs. And nothing is more exhausting than carrying the responsibility of being someone's entire life. A man with purpose never makes that mistake. His mission is not negotiable. It is not abandoned when love enters. It is what guides his choices inside the relationship too. And this constancy is exactly what makes him magnetic. Because his life is bigger than the romance, his presence has depth. Because his purpose matters more than momentary comfort, his words carry conviction. The truth is this: a man without a mission drifts. And a drifting man cannot inspire respect, no matter how kind, no matter how loving. But a man with direction becomes impossible to ignore. Even in silence, his life speaks louder than words. When a woman walks beside a man like this, she feels proud. She feels that life with him will not be stagnant, but alive, moving, full of growth. And she stays, not because she has to, but because she admires him. That is the paradox of purpose. The more you hold on to your mission, the more magnetic you become. The more you abandon it for love, the faster love disappears. A woman does not want to be the mission. She wants to be with a man who already has one. And when you live that truth, everything changes. There is a moment in every relationship where emotions run high. Words are sharp, voices rise, and tension fills the air. This is the exact moment where a man reveals who he truly is. Most men fail here. They react instead of respond. They let anger control them, exploding with accusations and insults that cannot be taken back. Or they go to the opposite extreme, shrinking into silence, apologizing just to escape the discomfort, even when they are not wrong. Both reactions come from the same weakness, the inability to master their emotions. But then there is another kind of man, the man who pauses before speaking, the man who listens, processes, and chooses his words with intention. He does not react in panic. He responds with calm. His tone stays steady, his reasoning clear. He is not trying to win the argument by force. He is trying to maintain dignity and truth. This kind of man radiates strength, not because he dominates with aggression, but because he cannot be pulled off balance. His calm is not passivity, it is mastery. It tells her that no matter how heated the moment, she cannot shake his core. And that presence inspires something far deeper than temporary attraction. It inspires respect. Think of it like a storm. The weak man is a branch tossed around by the wind, snapping with every gust. The strong man is the tree rooted deep into the earth, bending but never breaking. Which one do you think she feels safer beside? A man who controls his emotions does not suppress them. He channels them. He knows when to be silent and when to speak. He understands that silence at the right time can be more powerful than shouting 1,000 words. And when he finally does speak, his words carry weight because they are not born from impulse but from choice. Now imagine a conflict between two men and the same woman. The weak man lashes out, yelling, accusing, blaming, until the room is filled with noise. In the end, nothing is solved, only damage left behind. The strong man listens quietly, speaks with clarity, refuses to insult, and stands firm on what matters most. Which one do you think she admires more when the dust settles? Respect is not won in moments of peace. Respect is revealed in moments of chaos, and the man who can remain steady in the storm is the one she will remember long after the argument ends. This is why emotional control is not just a skill, it is a signal of leadership. It shows her that if life throws challenges, you will not collapse. It shows her that in the hardest moments, she can lean on you, and that trust is priceless. The weak man hands over his power by letting the environment control his emotions. If she is upset, he is instantly upset. If she is distant, he panics. If she tests him, he breaks. His state of mind is not his own. It belongs to her mood, and no woman can respect a man who she knows she can control with a single glance. The strong man is different. His emotions belong to him. He does not give away his inner world so easily. He can be calm even when provoked. He can remain firm even when tested. And that steadiness communicates silently. I am not afraid of conflict, and I am not afraid of losing. I stand where I stand, and nothing can shake that. It is this emotional self-mastery that separates the respected man from the forgotten man. Because in the end, women do not remember the man who shouted the loudest or the one who agreed the quickest. They remember the man who stood calm in the storm, who carried himself with dignity, and who refused to betray his principles for the sake of temporary peace. That is the art of silent strength, the ability to lead, not with noise but with presence, not with dominance but with self-control, not with desperate words but with a calm that speaks louder than any argument. And once a woman experiences that kind of strength, she cannot unsee it. She knows she has met a man who cannot be broken by moods, by pressure, or by chaos. And that realization changes everything. There is a mistake many men make when they try to keep a woman's interest. They confuse generosity with flattery. They think the way to stay loved is to constantly give more, to shower her with gifts, to compliment every detail, to always be available. But the truth is, this kind of exaggerated giving does not build respect. It destroys it. Why? Because when generosity comes from fear, it feels like bargaining. She does not feel special. She feels bought. And nothing kills attraction faster than the sense that love is being purchased instead of inspired. A man of value understands something deeper. Real generosity is not constant, desperate effort. Real generosity comes naturally. He gives when it feels true. He compliments when he genuinely means it. He supports not because he is trying to win her approval, but because it is in his nature to uplift. His gifts, his words, his presence carry weight because they are not predictable or forced. They are authentic. This is why his actions matter more. His kindness is not a tool of manipulation. His affection is not a weapon to keep her from leaving. Everything he does comes from a place of strength, not from weakness. And that difference changes everything. Now, let us talk about leadership. True leadership is not about controlling or demanding. It is not about shouting louder or forcing obedience. Real leadership is about example. The man of strong character leads because his actions are consistent. He says what he means, and he means what he says. If he sets a standard, he is the first to follow it. If he promises something, he keeps it. If he makes a mistake, he admits it and corrects it. That kind of integrity cannot be faked. It is lived. And women notice. They notice when a man lives with alignment between his words and his actions. They notice when he carries himself with humility in victory and accountability in failure. This creates automatic respect, not because he asked for it, but because he earned it. Contrast this with the weak man. He demands loyalty, but does not give it. He asks for responsibility, but lives with excuses. He preaches discipline, but breaks his own rules. His inconsistency destroys his authority. And instead of admiration, he receives resistance or even contempt. Leadership is proven in difficult times. When chaos arrives, the weak man panics or collapses. The strong man steadies himself. He analyzes, he acts, and he becomes a source of calm for those around him. People follow him not because he forced them to, but because they trust his vision and his presence. A woman beside a man like this does not feel forced to obey. She feels safe to follow. She respects his judgment because she knows his choices are guided by integrity, not impulse. This bond is not built in speeches or in promises. It is built daily, in the quiet constancy of his behavior. And here is the most powerful truth. Respect cannot be begged. It cannot be bought. It cannot be demanded. It must be cultivated, silently, day by day. The man who understands this lives differently. He does not try to control her with fear. He does not manipulate with gifts. He does not demand with anger. Instead, he holds himself to a standard so solid that respect becomes the natural response. This is what makes him unforgettable. This is what makes her admiration last beyond the moments of passion. She knows she is standing beside a man who cannot be shaken, who cannot be bought, and who cannot be broken by weakness. That is the essence of true value. A man who treats a woman well, not by bending himself into her approval, but by living with such firmness, clarity, and empathy that respect is inevitable. Love without respect dies quickly. Respect without love feels cold. But when love and respect walk together, the bond becomes unshakable. And the man who embodies this truth becomes the kind of man she will never forget. At the end of it all, what truly separates one man from another is not wealth, not charm, not looks, and not even success. It is character. Character is the one thing that cannot be faked, cannot be borrowed, and cannot be hidden for long. A man of true character does not bend himself for approval. He does not chase endlessly to be seen. He does not live as a shadow of someone else's expectations. Instead, he becomes solid, like a foundation that cannot be shaken. And once he becomes that, admiration is not something he has to demand. It arrives on its own. Think about the kind of man women remember forever. It is not the one who texted them every 5 minutes. It is not the one who bought endless gifts. It is not the one who tried to fill every silence with words. It is the man who carried himself with dignity. The man whose presence spoke louder than noise. The man who treated her well, not because he feared losing her, but because his standard of respect for himself naturally extended to her. This man does not play games. He does not pretend to be busy just to seem valuable. His life is already full. His mission is already alive. His boundaries are already firm. She knows she is not his reason for existing. She is his choice. And nothing is more attractive than being chosen by someone who does not need you, but still wants you. This is the final paradox. The man who fears losing her will always lose himself. But the man who is willing to lose her, rather than betray his own values, will always keep her respect. And often, he keeps her admiration too. Because when a woman looks at him, she sees stability. She sees a man who is not swayed by moods, who is not controlled by desperation, who is not weakened by fear. She sees a man who can stand on his own, who can lead, who can inspire. And deep down, she knows that this is rare. Respect is not built in a single grand gesture. It is built in the daily consistency of a man who knows who he is. In the way he says no when it matters. In the way he stands calm in conflict. In the way he never abandons his mission. In the way he gives from strength, not from fear. This is why she cannot forget him. This is why his presence lingers long after he leaves the room. Because he represents something timeless. A man whose worth is not borrowed from her attention, but carved into his own being. So, what does it mean to treat a woman well? It does not mean chasing endlessly. It does not mean surrendering your dignity. It does not mean abandoning your life for hers. It means treating her with respect while never abandoning your own. It means being kind without being weak. It means being generous without being desperate. It means leading with example, not control. This is what makes a man unforgettable. Not games, not tricks, not empty words, but strength, dignity, integrity, and love that comes not from fear, but from freedom. If you want admiration, you must first admire yourself. If you want respect, you must first live in a way that commands it. If you want love that lasts, you must first refuse to lose yourself in the process. Because in the end, the man she will admire forever is not the one who begged for her attention. It is the one who earned her respect without ever asking for it. That is the man of value. That is the man she will never forget.